Hello, my name is Josh Johnson, and this is my Module 14 case study for EDL 853. To begin with, in Section 1, what do we know? A student did not receive his right to a free education. His disability rights were violated. Miguel Hernandez has a spinal cord injury that will be permanent, and he will be disabled in a wheelchair for the remainder of his life. He was injured in a football game. He was one of the star athletes for the football team. His family actually moved to the school district as a result of athletics. That's something we'll discuss later. The school needs to be improved for wheelchair access. They are in the process of changing it slowly. They've recognized it as an issue, but it has not been completely fixed. A lawyer by the family has been contacted because the student was removed from his class, as well as not allowed to complete the requirements that he needed to for his college courses. And then no accommodations from his parents as of yet been requested outside of the meeting. Legal rights in Section 2. First of all, you have IDEA. FAPE is another term that we'll talk about, and ADA. All of these things discuss the rights that Miguel would have based upon his disability that he's facing. And then we're not looking necessarily at a 504 just yet. We're looking primarily for accommodations based upon his disability and the laws that protect him. Miguel, as a result of the legal issues, he has been refused an opportunity to meet his college credit requirements. He needs to take a biology class. The biology class is going to allow him to be admitted into the college that he has chosen to pursue. And then the violation, or the refusal, denial, has taken place because the room is not accessible by a wheelchair as of right now. And then this violates his FAPE, ADA, and IDEA compliance, being discriminated against due to his disability that he has. The problem in Section 3. So Miguel has suffered his permanent spinal cord injury. He is paralyzed for the rest of his life as a result of his football injury. Due to the injury, he has not been allowed to enroll in the needed biology class for college preparation. He was admitted. They started there, realized he couldn't make it work with the classroom setup as far as wheelchair accessibility. They then denied him the enrollment and removed him from the class because of the wheelchair accessibility to the biology classroom. Basically, because the injury took place inside of an athletic event, the student is not going to have any cause for legal action against the opposing team or against his school because you're looking at a thing that takes place within the concept of the game. Now, the school could face some liability if they were not instructed appropriately, so forth, or did not provide the proper care during the game or after the accident injury was a result of. What do we need to know in Section 4? Laws that protect students in their education. Why did the parents not request a review automatically after the fact? That's something you would think would take place. It did not, so we need to look at why potentially to make sure that we have systems in place to prevent that from taking place again. And then why did the school not investigate classrooms? Knowing that they're aware that their building is not up to code is going to be a huge problem. They should have been able to see that and take advantage or fix it early enough. And then why did the parents not receive notification early about the meeting that was going to take place or about the decision to remove him from that classroom, class, so forth? And then we need to look at if the classrooms can be moved to accommodate the student. Can we potentially move classroom to classroom without disrupting the entire school or each teacher or every student? And then how much funding would it take to bring the building up to code to meet the ADA, IDEA compliance? Who is involved in Section 4? So far we have Miguel Hernandez, the student who's been injured, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, his parents. We have Dover Unified School District, the doctors who have provided care to the student. We have our high school counselor, Mrs. Gussman, and then we have Dr. Harvey, who is our superintendent and school administration. All of these people are playing a critical role, as well as the family lawyer, who we can talk about why that maybe should have been avoided. The parents, a little bit of background on them in Section 4. First of all, they moved to the district in anticipation of the academic and athletic ability of their student that they have in Miguel and his ability to be successful at this school. Prior to the injury, the family and athlete were considered to be great. This is not a situation where you're dealing with people who are hard to deal with. They've done everything that was required of them to begin with. The student has a permanent spinal cord injury. And the parents do not want the school to provide accommodations yet. They want answers as to why this took place first. And then what do we need to know in Section 4? What technology does this school offer? Is this something that we can provide an alternative solution to Miguel? Does the family have technology that they can access, such as Wi-Fi, internet, computers, television, anything that would be remote access potentially? And then do we need to document anything that happened prior to his injury? So how is his academics? Is it something we need to look at potentially giving him more support, potentially changing classroom settings, so forth? Did he maintain his academics while being away from the classroom? You know, he's been in the hospital, he's been in rehab. All of these things impact his classroom performance. What can we do to help there? And then can the school make changes to the building to bring it up to code prior to him coming back to school? And then if not, how long is it going to take to bring it up to code, and when will that take place officially? And then who did Mrs. Gussman talk to prior to making decisions? Is this something she should have visited with the administrator about, the parents, the teachers, student, prior to even deciding on what to do with this course of action? Then how do we find a permanent solution so there's not another Miguel that takes place where we're in the same boat with a lawyer and a family that's problematic? In review, we have some concerns. Once he makes a full return from the hospital back to school, where's he at? How can we help him? And then what legal problems does the school face? Obviously, we're looking at potentially a lawsuit because we're not in compliance with those laws. And then can we find a way to make sure that we're ensuring that all laws are being followed? Options for us in 6, the first thing we can look at is do nothing. Obviously, this is not going to be an option necessarily for us. It's not viable because it provides more problems than solutions. We can create an alternative schedule, moving around classes, potentially even looking at more of an Acela stuff. We can look at classrooms being changed. That would meet his needs, so ensuring that his IDEA, ADA policy is definitely in compliance. We can offer an alternative setting, again, go back to the remote idea. Or we can simply fix the building. Now, that's going to be the most expensive option, but it is the one that provides the most permanent solution. Weighing our options. Number 1, doing nothing. It's going to create legal problems for the school. It also doesn't solve Miguel's issue. Matter of fact, it only provides more problems. And it does not give him accessibility into the class. Number 2, we can put an alternative schedule together that's going to provide a place where Miguel can get what he needs. It provides him an education that he deserves and is entitled to. But it would create problems for other staff and students in our school that they are not responsible for. Class changes as far as the actual room. We can give Miguel access with little change. All this requires is a student being put in one other classroom and the classroom switching rooms, essentially. But it does force students and staff to move, so that's something else we have to look at as far as long-term or even short-term necessarily. And then the alternative setting could lack technology necessary, would remove Miguel from the classroom. That's not something we want. We want him in the classroom with the students there. That support system he needs, his social interaction would be helpful. And then finally, looking at fixing the building. This would be expensive, may not be an option because of financial restraints, and then would fix the wheelchair access permanently. That's a huge plus. That would prevent another Miguel from taking place later on down the road. What to do in Section 8, prior to returning to the school, the following should have taken place. So you should have met with upper administration, discussed issues and solutions. We should have evaluated courses needed to achieve his goals that he wants and that he has discussed prior to the injury. Ensure that he has physical access to each room or building. So merely moving the classroom to another building doesn't necessarily solve the problem. And this is something we have seen coming. We knew this was going to take place, needed to make sure it's taken into account. If access is not an option, change classrooms to ensure access is allowed to every classroom, every building that he is needed to do. And then meet with teachers and staff to update needs and address changes. Communication is a priority here. We have a student who has needs. We have a student who has rights. We cannot violate those. We need to make sure he's getting the best possible education that he deserves from us. Then have students and have teachers discuss ways to provide alternatives. So if he is behind in his classes, how can we help him catch up? How can we provide an area where he can see the solution, not merely another problem coming down the road for him? Course of action. I think here is where we look at meeting with our superintendent and legal representatives, meet with a school counselor and school staff. Obviously, our school counselor has gone out and done a rogue thing, making a decision without informing the administration of the policies in place, and then inform school board of the decision. Parents will be provided written notice prior to the meeting to allow them a chance to prepare for these things. And looking at the information the parents and the student of the solution, as far as we can inform parents about it and then make sure they have the rights available to them that they can move on with. And then ensuring the district is protected from these issues again. We need to make sure that we are preventing further problems. We do not want a lawyer in the room. This could have been taken care of by making sure the rights are protected by each student. Monitor Miguel's success. We don't just want to provide the solution and then drop him. We want to make sure he's being monitored thoroughly to make sure his academic growth is being on track and allow him to meet the goals that he has set aside. And then follow up with a path for improving all aspects of FAPE, ADA, IDA compliance. My decision that I propose, I would recommend the biology class be moved to a class where it's wheelchair accessible. This would allow Miguel to get the credits needed to attend the college of his choice. You need to communicate and work with Ms. Guzman and ensure that Miguel's parents are notified of this decision in advance. The teacher of the class would also be notified of the movement. And finally, the decision, the school would have legal action removed. Miguel is getting the education he deserves. The school helps eliminate further issues with other students. Miguel's best interest is served. All of these things prevent further things from being a problem. It gives Miguel his education he deserves, and it best suits our students for the most success that they possibly can have. I did use a few resources that would help. I looked up IDEA, ADA, and FAPE to make sure we're all on the same page. I appreciate you guys this year. Thank you all and good luck.